So we have spent a lot of time talking about these heroines, which is wonderful. So I'm going to just kind of rapid fire through some of the other heroines we've covered. And it's just going to be quick. First gut reaction. I know you haven't listened to the Aurora episode because it hasn't been released yet, but it is releasing tomorrow as of us recording. So for those of you listening, it has been released because this is our last episode. Anyway,
time jumpy stuff happening
Time
here.
traveling.
It's fine. Don't worry about it.
It is Mental Health Multiverse. Okay. So anyway, in our Aurora episode, LB and I had trouble seeing Aurora as an empowering heroine. And we were just wondering if you would agree, disagree, if you don't know enough about the character or can't remember enough. But the conclusion that LB and I came to was that the three fairies of the movie, Merryweather, Flora, and Fauna, are actually the empowered heroines of the movie because they do a lot of the work and the saving. So we just want to do Aurora some justice because we forgot to put her in our season. And then when we did, we were like, well, there's probably a reason. So here we go. Anyone can go.
I think I'm gonna just have to agree with you guys. Like, those little fairies, they were always my favorite part of the movie. Like, aside from her name, which I really love, I think it's a very beautiful name. Never really like left a very lasting impression on me.
All right.
Fair.
Okay, I'll throw in my angle of she went through a lot of trauma. She has a large trauma history, and perhaps in part due to the way that she experienced life, likely one of our neurodivergent heroines. I might go so far as to offer that idea. And I think it's okay that maybe she was different than the others.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Love that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I would agree with that. I feel like her whole story, like she was so young in that movie too, that like, I mean, she's like a baby compared to like, like given that it's so early in her life, like to put that expectation that because she has a movie, like she has to be her heroine is like, that's a lot on our kids.
She survived, man. We got to give her points for just surviving.
Amen.
That's no easy thing.
Amen.
She had like a whole lady warlock out to get her like that. Yeah. Like
an evil fairy.
Evil fairy.
Dress, if I could have the mood changing dress like that, I will go back to that. I will stand by that to the end of time. I thought that was the coolest thing, and I wish that existed.
That's
well, true. Apparently LB found a TikTok where there's someone who has fabric that in different light changes from pink to blue, which is pretty cool.
Color shifting fabric. Yeah. And someone made
it is in the resources of our Aurora.
You can get that link
episode.
tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, I know I love this, and that's why we asked, because when we were recording, we were like, we have talked about the fairies the whole time.
Yeah. But I think also, Kitty, to your point, we did mention that, like, I think what we see in the movie doesn't even touch on the trauma that she experiences. And I think if we had seen more of those 16 years between when she gets taken away by the fairies as a baby and then when she's like told that she's a princess and has to re-enter society just, very randomly out of the blue, all of a sudden, that day, that evening, I think obviously storytelling back then is different than where it is today. So I think it might have changed our perspective a little bit, but no, those are all really good points. And then speaking of like what Heather was saying, for every episode, we actually had a poll for listeners. And so if it's okay, we're going to kind of just go through them together. I think the last time you were on, Amber, at our last roundtable, we asked this question, from our Moana episode. What is your empowering I am statement? And I don't know if you remember yours, Amber.
If you guys need an example, mine was I am enough. So that was like, it's basically like in our discussion, Moana has her big empowering song is like I am Moana, and it's like just really coming to herself and coming into her own. And so we asked our audience what their empowering I am statement would be. And so for me, I came up with I am enough, because that's something that when I am not feeling my best, I am very mean to myself. And the feeling of enoughness is the one that is like, I am lacking somewhere. I'm not good enough or smart enough or something enough. And so that's why that is mine.
That's a really good one. I think that lately, regardless of what I said the other during the other roundtable, lately I've really been reminding myself that I am resilient, because I have a lot of, things coming up in my personal life. I've been thinking about that, that song that we used to sing in the early 2000s where it's like, I get knocked down, but I get up again. You never gonna get me down. Yeah, the like tub thumping with Chubba Wumpa. But like that is like, I'm like, okay, like I got like I am resilient. So I think that's gonna be my statement for this episode.
I love that.
Amber, I need you to know
with
that
bad karaoke.
no, that I need you to know that I made a playlist for someone yesterday and that song is on it. So that's the energy. I love that. And I'll share a little bit of what comes up for me. And in my work as a coach right now, a lot of my clients and in my communities, we're talking a lot about boiling things down or zooming out far enough to be like, what is actually going on? And I offer you to consider this if you'd like, but we often talk about how things tend to be conceptualized as either love or fear. And so my statement would be, I am love.
And I feel that deeply from you, Kitty.
That.
Just
Yeah.
So when you were talking about it, the first thing that came to mind for me was I am here. And I was like, why did that come up? And then as I was thinking a little bit more about it, I personally and professionally am really working on stillness and being, which probably sounds strange as a therapist, right? Because we're all about presence, but it's really hard to continue to practice that, especially when so much in the world is happening. And when you've been, even if you're new as a therapist or in therapy on the other side of the couch, I've been on both, like there is so much work and feeling that goes into that. So it is tough to let that be how it needs to be. And that's part of the work in the process, but just being here, right now. And yeah, thumbs up.
No, I love that. I love that.
We also have to ask the age-old question for Aurora too.
Oh yeah, blue or pink?
Was her dress blue or pink?
Wait, like
we're not going to tell you our answers yet because you'll find out.
You have like a trivia question.
No, I mean like
It's
which
not.
do you prefer?
Oh, it's a preference question. Oh, okay.
Or did Heather, did you mean that as a trivia question? I thought it was which did you prefer?
Oh, it ended up as pink because that's in all the photos.
No. It was blue for the entire second half of the movie. It's blue.
Oh man, they totally tripped me up.
I feel like I'm going to be a true non-binary person here and be like, neither. What does she have a really cool outfit that was like a white and black kind of?
Yes,
when
her Briar Rose.
Yeah.
There we go. Yeah, that's my answer.
I think the whole allure though is that it can change. Like that's my favorite part of the dress. Not that it ends up being one or the other.
Well, it's the fairies that change it though.
Yeah, so it's not the dress itself. And when she so like they fight over what color it is, and then it ends up blue, and then it's blue from the point that they bring her to the castle. Maleficent finds her, she falls asleep, the prince kisses her, and then they start dancing, and then that's when it starts changing again, is when they start dancing from pink to blue. And the creators had decided on blue, but because of the like fight about it, to differentiate her from Cinderella and all of the marketing, they made it pink. So that's why we asked the question, pink or blue.
I prefer blue.
Interesting.
That's just me. Or
Yeah,
what did I say?
and I prefer
think
pink.
And
You said
then
blue because mine was
did I say
pink. We
blue?
disagreed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it happens.
You're like,
we
I
were
forget
also-
mine.
I forgot. But we were also talking about at one point the dress has like it's like the paint splashes against each other and it's like half blue, half pink. And we were
Oh,
like,
yeah,
Actually, it's so
that one
funny.
should
That's
be it.
literally what I was
That's
thinking.
cool.
I was like, can I vote for the tie-dye version? Because like
There you go.
that would be my answer.
yes.
I love it. Yay.
The
All
both
right.
and dress.
The both and dress. very,
Perfect.
very on brand here.
Yes. Yes.
So for our Megara episode, one of the questions we had asked was, how do you define strength?
Yes, because we both saw Megara as a very strong character, but in juxtaposition to a character who is literally physically strong. And so we're just wondering how you personally would define strength.
I'm actually going to give a really just like blind answer here because I think that there's probably like a more like therapeutic minded answer, but in my life and in my lived experience lately, especially, I have really been like resourcing myself a lot over the past like 2.5 years. And I see myself as strong because when there are things that need to get done, like I do them. Like I just find a way to like dig deep and resource myself and find whatever I need or ask or, you know, get the help that I need to get things done. And I have been around people in my life recently who, you know, things have gotten hard and they just like quit or cop out or just stop or, you know, whatever. And I realized that regardless of what their why is, I view them as less strong than I am because they don't have the ability to resource themselves in the way that I have, which again, most likely is a trauma response if we're being completely honest about why I can do what I do. But yeah, that's definitely a very potent internal conversation that I've been having with myself lately. So that's where I'm at present.
No, that makes sense, especially because your I am statement was I am resilient. And resiliency is this idea that you just keep, you know, coming back up. You fall down, you get back up, get knocked down, get back up again.
No one's ever going to keep you down.
Oh, I love this. I want to be a slightly meta and
as you do, Kitty, just let it out.
I know. Okay. And it aligns with both what you just said, Amber, in describing yourself and your strength, and to what we were talking about earlier with calling in. I just want to invite you to think about phrasing. And earlier you used the phrase, I think you said, I'm going to have a blind response or blind answer. And I just want to let you know, I've seen some folks in the vision impaired community ask us not to use that type of phrasing. I want to let you know.
And this is the perfect example of calling someone in. And when we know better, we do better, because I was not aware. And I use that kind of idiom in my regular life too. So, you know, blind response, blind answer. Good to know. Thank you.
And I just learned that freshly, like last week. So I can now ripple effect this request from folks in the community.
And I also love that we have created, and I mean, obviously, you know, the three of us know each other outside of this space, but we have created a space where even though we're having like conversations, we can, you know, mention those things. It wasn't until I think our Esmeralda episode that there are ways that the word gypsy is used and shortened in everyday life that my family used like it was no big deal. And then I had to do a lot of deconstruction around that. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, please go listen to that episode because Abel gives so much information about that. Kitty, how would you define strength?
What came to mind for me first is willingness. I think that's where I'm at is there's so much nuance to strength and to how each of us can conceptualize strength. But I think there's something about being willing to show up for yourself, willing to, as we talked about earlier, willing to ask for help, willing to receive help, being willing to keep trying. I know that's a big one for a lot of us here in mental health world. And sometimes we don't feel like that. Sometimes it's really, really hard. And so that's what came to mind for me is willingness.
Mm-hmm. Mallory, what about you?
I'm going to go in a very different direction here. I really think like strength can be defined in so many different ways. Like it is literal physical strength, there is mental strength, there is soul strength, like, and all of these have their place, of course. But I even think about like from the physical aspect of strength. I'm sure Heather, you will appreciate this being a fitness instructor, that a lot of that and building like physical strength, which also applies to all these other areas, is really being able to trust and know your capability and continue to work with what you have and what you're working towards. So being able to kind of like navigate all of that, I think that is true strength. It's not necessarily like the number on the barbell that you're benching, if you can use a barbell. I mean, there are people who picking up a bag of groceries, like that is rough. And that is still strong for them. So I think it is so personal and it really can come in all these different containers.
Yeah, strength is relative. I like that.
Yeah, and that's, I think, why the question was not so much like, what is strength, but more so like, how would you define strength? Because it is, and like Amber, what you said, you know, based on your current experience and your lived experience, this is what strength means for me right now. And I think that's another good point, is that strength, there are definitions of what all of these terms like empowerment and self-efficacy, and even though there are, you know, dictionary textbook definitions, I think our embodied definition can change as we move, grow, evolve throughout our life. And I think that's really important to remember too. Just like Mallory, you were saying with your kids having like one fixed goal or something, it's important to work toward that goal, and maybe that goal resonates with you right now, and then it's going to change, and that's okay too. It's so cliche, and here I am coming in with the cliches, but you know, change is the only constant in this world. So
Okay, boys.
My last question for time, unless Heather, you have one more that you would like to ask, but I really like this question. And it's a very silly one, so kind of like shifting gears a little bit here. Ending on a little bit of a lighter note. This is from our Merida episode, where she's very much a fighter, very capable with weapons, you know. And then around the same time, I had watched the Dungeons and Dragons movie, which, if you haven't seen it, is fantastic. Even if you've never played Dungeons and Dragons, they do a really good job of making it enjoyable for all audiences. Sponsor us. Anyway, my question is, which 3 Disney heroines would you choose as fighters on your team? So, for example, for my team, I chose Mulan to be like that melee fighter. I think I chose Merida as the long range fighter, and then the Elsa as my like spellcaster sorceress.
I don't remember my team. I chose Moana and Megara, but I don't remember my other version.
I think you chose Merida or Rapunzel, because we talked about her frying pan.
I don't remember. Neither of those feel right.
It was definitely Moana, though.
Definitely Moana
and Megara.
Definitely Megara.
Because we talked about
Megara was there for the
charisma.
sass.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna go with Elsa for the magic situation. And then I think I'm actually gonna go Giselle, right? Because she could just like bamboozle people with like her sweetness and kindness, and like probably like have some animals come and help us, you know. I think that would be very, very helpful.
Be a druid. Totally.
Oh yeah, like for sure. And then I think I'm actually gonna go, since you got, Lilo and Stitch is actually my favorite Disney movie, for those who didn't know. But I think like Nani, just like for the get her doneness.
Oh, she'd definitely be the team leader for sure.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love
Like that would be like that. Nani would be like organization, giving everybody like their job description, like making sure everybody, especially if I'm going to
She's
have
the eldest sister.
Giselle, right? Like for sure. And that's where like, I feel like her and Elsa would have a little bit of like a power dynamic issue going on, but like Elsa is a little bit of a loner, so I think Nani would just be like, go over there and like, freeze those people. And Elsa would be like, fine, whatever. And like, go over and do that thing. And they'll be like, where do you need me? And she'd be like, over there, you do that. And be like, okay. So I think I'd be pretty well covered.
I love that. I love that.
Are they allowed to bring their sidekicks?
Great question.
Ooh, good question. I'll allow it.
Because-
I'll allow it.
Okay. I'm gonna change my original thought on this then, because definitely Jasmine then, because if she can bring the tiger in,
Oh,
yes.
that's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'd say Jasmine, Rapunzel, exactly for what you said. I mean, she looks all sweet and innocent, but watch out.
That frying pan.
Yeah, and it's got to be Milan. I mean, girl can work a sword.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would also, Mulan has the battle experience. I mean, like, definitely want Mulan on my team as well. And I think Megara for the strategy, for the long game kind of planning. And I think I would call in Elsa for her for the muscle. Elsa would be the muscle.
Yeah.
Like,
Just ice everybody.
yeah, just like power moves everywhere.
I love it. I love it. HB, I wish we remembered what you had said. Or did you say Elsa? I don't remember now.
I don't remember. Should I go listen real quick and see what it was?
Oh wait, here I have it right here. Here, I'll listen to it real quick.
Okay.
So Moana for sure, just because she is my favorite, and also very I can just see her really going to town. And because we just watched this, I will say Merida, because she's a fighter 100%. Like, and you know what? I'm gonna say Megara, just because.
Oh, got the 3 M's. Moana, Merida, Megara.
You were right, LB. I forgot my damn self. There you go.
Got you, boo. That's what we do. We just swap the brain cell,
Get my brain cell today.
Before we wrap up, Heather, did you have any other thoughts, questions that you'd like to ask our amazing guests?
My only last question would be if there's anything that you wanted to say that you didn't get to say yet, or any imparting words that you would like to share with our listeners.
I think the thing that I would really like to share with everyone is, as you listen to these conversations, as you listen to other conversations, notice where your own lived experience, your own bias, your own, like traumas, all those things are going to come up and essentially block you from being able to learn and grow and, be called in, right? I think that was a really beautiful opening that Kitty graced us with at the very beginning that really set the tone for this entire episode, because this is why I love being able to hear from different lived experiences and different perspectives, because we all have something so valuable to offer. But when we are sitting in a place of being defensive and shutting people down and looking for reasons to cancel and erase, we're missing out on that opportunity for connection. And oftentimes when people are meeting us with, they're going to stomp away and get, throw a temper tantrum and get activated, or they're going to get defensive, it's because something is coming up for them, right? Like maybe that man like was the youngest child in his family and was talked over his whole entire life. And now he had a moment to be in the sunshine and to share. And, you know, he was just going to keep talking on that microphone as long as he could. And then when somebody else asked him to give someone else a turn, it brought out his inner child who felt hurt and talked over and not seen. And that's the part of him that got up and stomped away. And, you know, did it look a lot like, you know, fragile ego and toxic masculinity? Yes. But are there other things that we can make space for? Also, yes. But unless I was able to be like given the opportunity to talk and ask him, hey, like what came up for you? Which I would have loved to have circled back and actually checked in and asked him that question. He left, so I was not able to do that.
Yeah.
But again, I think being able to just open that space to Kitty's point, like give people love and understanding and grace, and know that we're all carrying our own triggers and traumas, and our nervous systems are just like going through a lot from being a human being. Like it's rough out here right now, y'all. And so just giving each other that compassion and that grace so that we can kind of just, you know, be a little bit more kind, and just offer to see the best in people where you can, when it's safe to do so, right? Like I do always have to put that disclaimer out there. But you know, when it's safe to do so, just really choosing to lead with love.
Yeah. Can I ask too, because we actually had a moment on this podcast where Kitty lovingly called you in about some phrasing that was used. Can I ask if there was like anything that came up for you in that moment?
I was quiet because I was like reflecting on that, because I just had that moment with one of my clients earlier today where they were using the term peanut gallery, which is like not actually an okay phrase for people who don't know that is not an okay phrase to use. And, you know, and like, it was literally the same thing. And in that moment, I was just like reflecting on like, wow, like how beautiful is it that like I was able to offer something to someone else earlier today, and now I'm being offered something in this moment, like literally later in like the same day. And if we were all able to just kind of continuously be in these types of conversations, the know better, do better just ends up amplifying exponentially. And we can all really elevate to a place where we are truly leading with love and awareness and connection, instead of, you know, oh, well, like, you know, I can't, you know, help offer something to that person because they might get right. And like, again, focusing on our intention. And I know Kitty, and I know that the intention that Kitty brings to things is just so much love, and focusing on the intention instead of getting caught up in what the impact might be, because that's something that's outside of our control. And if we're too focused on that, it might prevent us from sharing and offering what we have to share and offer.
Thank you. Thank you.
I also love that Kitty did bring it up in the episode, because I knew that it about the term and I didn't say anything. And there was a part of me when Kitty did bring it up that was like fearful. And I think that shows the like when Kitty said what their idea or definition of strength was willingness. That was like a very clear example of willingness, where like I don't know exactly how to finish that thought,
like
but
Kitty
that was
was
like
willing to say the thing, to highlight the thing, and offer that opportunity for change. Where Heather, I feel like you and I are very much in the same nervous system regulation boat, where if we speak up about something, it's scary.
yeah.
But yeah, I do appreciate that we had that opportunity here on the podcast. So,
and that's where when we all tend to our nervous systems, right, that allows us to be champions for change wherever we can. Because even though Kitty and I know each other really well and we have a beautiful history, it still is like there's still that little thought of like, ooh, like how is this person going to receive this? Because again, especially like I'm making an assumption here, have all been conditioned to be females in, you know, this society, right? And we're overly concerned with how everyone else is going to perceive and receive us, right? There's still going to be that moment, but because of doing, you know, their own inner work, Kitty was able to sit with that discomfort or whatever it was that came up and know that it was more important to champion a moment for education and information over like favoring what might be comfortable and like placating that, like, oh, well, like, you know, I don't want to make my friend like uncomfortable or whatever. Like there are certain things that are more important than that. And also, again, trusting that that other person has done enough of their own work that they can receive it in the intention that it is meant.
This makes my heart just so happy because y'all, like, we're breaking so many cycles with this conversation. Like, so many narratives of you can't talk up or speak up and you can't talk back and you can't do this, right? Because it makes other people uncomfortable. You're rocking the boat. You're like, you know, these negative perceptions, even though, Kitty, that's not what you're doing. And I'm, you know, we're very glad you did this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I can share a little bit more. Mostly I'm just nodding along and really grateful for this space, and absolutely grateful for the container of my friendship with Amber, so that there's some trust and vulnerability already established in our connection. But I can absolutely acknowledge the part of me that loves helping people and helping people feel good, that has a little tension with the calling in, because oh my God, this could hurt my friend's feelings. And that doesn't feel good. So as far as just sharing a little of what came up, but what came up louder, or what I chose to listen to, is more of this, again, this zoomed out lens of like, what are we doing all this learning for? And I think about the very valid call outs right now around people like who did book clubs in 2020 but like are silent now around what's happening, and like that is the thing that helps me be willing to speak up, is like somebody else actually did this labor for me. In when I learned that, like last week when I mentioned around this particular phrasing, somebody else did the labor. I received that labor through that pain and that willingness for that person who was corrected to receive it. I took it and I am now sharing it this way to help ultimately reduce harm, build community, and pass the information along, versus again, the stereotype, especially I would say, of like white people, white women, of like reading a thing, shutting the book, and it's done, and now it's
just it being
check
very
mark,
performative.
Ally. This, what we're talking about here is like, and here's what it can actually mean to care about people, to care about a community I might not be a part of, and today I got to share that care with Amber and with us and with all the listeners.
I don't think anyone can hear it, but I'm clapping.
Yes. I love the full circle nature of this conversation too, because it started with Amber. You talked about an experience on a panel where you attempted to invite somebody to choose a different direction with their behavior. And the response was that they loved the conversation, literally. And I know we're talking about Kitty's willingness to speak up, but I also want to just point out and acknowledge all of ours, especially Amber being directly receiving this, to stay and continue the conversation and not like go straight to defensiveness or avoidance or downplaying. And I also want to come in, I did notice this, that nobody jumped in to rescue Amber. Like, we just let it be. It was what it was. And we were still able to continue the episode, which I think is like, yes, that is so meaningful, because I think so many times we're so worried about like the impact is going to be the storm, and sometimes that is. And again, we just have to let that person come to their own conclusions, and hopefully it is a learning experience, maybe not in that moment, but perhaps later. I always say, like, look for the changed behavior. Not everybody has the ability to come back full circle and be like what we are doing right here and be like, Amber, this is how I felt. Kitty, this is how I felt, right? Like, not everybody has that skill set.
When you get two mental health advocates and 3 therapists together, look.
Yes.
I love it. Yeah.
I love this. I love the conversation we've had here today. Thank you all so much for being here, especially for you East Coasters. I know it is a very late hour, so I don't want to keep you waiting longer. But yes, if there is any last minute things y'all want to share before we wrap up, even if it's about where people can find you on social media, if you have any projects or anything that you would like to share with the world, the floor is yours.
I just want to say, as like the newbie to like your little group, I guess it's like a large group, right? But I'm just so grateful and thankful that you guys were willing to have me on here and be part of this discussion. When I listen to the episodes, I just love the way that you guys talk about things and bring up these topics in ways that are surprising, I think, for some people. And you're so careful and considerate in acknowledging all the aspects, which is really difficult to do. So I really just want to appreciate that. Yeah. And in terms of like finding me, it's honestly my name. I am the only Mallory Grimsey in the world. My last name is made up, not by me, by family. So there's not many Grimseys in the world. So at Mallory Grimsey on all the things. That is how you find me.
Yay. Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for messaging us and saying that you'd love to come on. And again, I'm glad we have
talking about willingness, Mallory.
Yeah. Very brave to approach people who you don't like, strangers on the internet, and be like, I like what you do and I want to be a part of it, you know?
Yeah.
That's how it starts.
Yeah.
Thank you for accepting me.
Yeah. Welcome to the multiverse.
I'm getting this image that like with the 5 of us here, are we like Thanos with like each of the stones? Like, is that's kind of the energy I'm getting today? Like,
Yes.
I think I want to
love
share, you know, as far as something that I see come up with a lot of folks, as we'll call us adults, with a lot of adults who really enjoy movies, whether it's like Disney, Marvel, all of these franchises, all of our special characters, you know, well known and lesser known. I have noticed that sometimes we can feel a little bit ashamed or embarrassed that these characters mean so much to us. And I think we could talk more about, you know, the conditioning and the systemic reasons, you know, why we're discouraged from holding these characters so dearly and these stories so dearly. So I just want to offer to anyone listening that it's okay. And maybe it's even better than okay. You know, I hope you can enjoy the fuck out of your favorite stories, your favorite movies, your favorite characters. And if that can help take the edge off of what it's like to be a human on the earth right now, then please do so. And we are celebrating you and the things that you love. You can find me on social media. I love to talk about this stuff, and so thank you as well for our amazing hosts. You can find me on Instagram at the Kitty Caveat. That is also the same on TikTok, and my website is thekittycaveat.com. I love to share content around mental health, spirituality, social justice, and I do really enjoy supporting folks in community as well as my clients to be more yourself, even when it's maybe a little hard.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe your bio says you are the existential witch. Is that still correct?
Yes, I mean it's true. I'm coming to a place of being myself. Speaking of being more yourself, so I'm being more myself. I'm the Kitty Caveat. And speaking of knowing how important some things can be to keeping us alive, that's part of my origin story. So I am the existential witch, but you can definitely find me on all socials as my name these days.
Yeah. And if our conversation today has given you any indication, Kitty is very much all about the existential, spiritual, just zooming out, and we love it.
You've definitely made things like very convenient for people, Kitty. I strive for that. I'm actually like planning a pretty hefty social media hiatus, but for when I return, right now, I hang out on Instagram. It's at letgo.and_lead. And I do have a TikTok and I do have a website and I do have all of those things, but we're in a little bit of a transformation phase right now. So if things get updated before this gets released, I promise everyone listening that I will give HB and LB the updated info so they can drop that in the show notes for y'all.
Thank you. And thank you also normalizing for entrepreneurs, transformation and growth in that regard and pivoting. Yeah, because I think that's also very important.
Yeah, I just
Yay.
got back from a 2-week Instagram break,
Yeah.
except for
Yeah.
posting our social media stuff, which when I did, it did not go well. So
Oh, yeah, that was interesting. We got like we were getting a lot of engagement, which at first was like, oh my God, this is so cool. And then it was like all bots. Yeah, we gotta love it. Gotta love social media.
yeah, and then when I
Fun.
tried to do the post, it like didn't post. So that was fun.
Love it. I love technology. Thank you again to you
Yes.
all, Amber, Kitty, Mallory. Thank you so much for your time, your energy, your words of wisdom, your love, just everything. I loved this conversation so much. To anyone who has made it this far into the episode, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got uncomfortable because that's what therapists do. And I think it's, just very on brand when we're talking about mental health. We're digging deep. We're not here just for the sunshine and rainbows, man. We're here for all of it because it all belongs. So thank you. And then
we reeled you in. I was gonna say we reeled you in with the Disney, and then we were like, by the way,
shadow work.
Exactly. Yes. And then I think surprise.
Yeah. That is a little bit how therapy works. We make you feel emotionally and physically safe. And then we're like, and what does this mean? Like, no, I don't want to look at it.
Yeah. And then if you have made it this far into not just the episode, but the season, thank you for being here. Thank you for being a listener of Mental Health Multiverse. We are so excited to have done this. This has been a year-ish in the making at this point. And thank you for being along, not just for the ride of this podcast, but also for watching mine and Heather's friendship grow and blossom and bloom and turn into something really beautiful and special. To all the amazing guests that we've had, thank you so much. And we can't wait to see you again for season 2 and to have possibly all of these amazing, beautiful faces on as guests again. So thank you. And we'll see you, I guess, in the new year.
Yeah, and if you have ideas on what our new season should be, email us.
Yeah.
mhm.thepodcast@gmail.com.
And if you're missing us during our break, you can become a Patreon and catch up on some bonus and additional content that you may not have seen yet. So yeah, all in the show notes. Yay.
Yeah.
All right, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Mental Health Multiverse podcast and for spending time with us, HB and LB. Special shout out to our musical composer, Little HB.
If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, feel free to share it with others, post about it on social media, leave a rating and review, or become an exclusive Patreon member to see bonus and additional content.
To stay up to date on all things MHM, you can follow us on Instagram at Heather Bodie and at littlebin_notbroken, or subscribe to our YouTube channel to see our faces and watch some fun bloopers. You can find all of these links in the show notes.
Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.